1985, I was looking into the mirror in my freshman dorm, wondering where the light in my eyes had gone. Where did all that joy and enthusiasm go that I just had months ago? It started me on a search to get that joy back. And I was in my mom's apartment and picked up one of her books called To Know Yourself. And in it, the late Swami Satchidananda said, "You are happiness. That God is happiness, and you are happiness." And I thought, if that's true, that would solve all of life's problems. There wouldn't be any more greed, there wouldn't be any more murder, there wouldn't be any of that, because everybody could find that inner joy, that inner happiness. Well, I thought, well, that's cool. But is that really the truth? And I went on a search to study what did the major theologians say, and I read the Bible, and I read the Bhagavad Gita, and I was really searching to find out, could that really be the truth? At the same time, for the first time in my life, I was unhappy. And I was learning that happiness is a choice, that you can determine your own happiness. And I was inspired by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. That was one of the first books I read, was The Power of Positive Thinking. And, I was into positive thinking. I knew that it helped my golf game. And I thought, let me learn more about positive thinking. And then, of course, it was sort of a disguised entry to positive Christianity, The Power of Positive Thinking. But he tells the story of a business person who came in and said to him, Dr. Peale, I'm really unhappy, miserable. What should I do? And Dr. Peale said, I want you to make a list of all the things that make you feel happy. Little things. Make a list. And then, whenever you go out and you start to find the trend of your thinking getting negative, pull out the list. And remind yourself, what are you happy about? And the business person went away. A couple months later, they came back, and they were, something was different about them. And she said to Dr. Peale, when you gave me that exercise, I really thought it was kind of dumb. I really didn't see how that was going to work, but what else could I do? I committed to doing that. And truly, it's changed my life. Because happiness was a habit. And that person learned how to change the habit of their thinking. What were they thinking about? What were they focusing upon? And I started to change my thinking and change my focus and to learn how to determine my own happiness. And truly, happiness has to do with our will and our determination to be focusing our mind on what makes us feel good. Positive psychology hadn't quite come out yet back then. And now there's a lot of books on saying that your happiness level is kind of inherited. Your genetics tell you that your happiness is 50% from your genetics, but you can determine the other bit. You can make yourself happier no matter where you are in that set point of happiness. That everybody kind of has a happiness set point, and they will tend to return to that no matter what. But you can make yourself happier by doing certain things. And, that's important stuff to understand that. What are some of those things you can do to make yourself happier? Well, they're in positive psychology now. Unity was teaching those things for about 100 years, only going deeper. And I want to talk a little bit about the difference between pleasure, happiness, and bliss. Because bliss is something you don't hear about in positive psychology. Because they don't know about it. In fact, I was watching an interview of one of the top evangelists in the country. Very popular. Millions of people watch this evangelist. And he wrote a book, and he was doing an interview with a very popular personal development guy, also millions of followers. And he was talking about his book. And I realized this guy doesn't realize that joy is within you. Because a lot of teaching is about how to achieve. You know, how to achieve, how to have a dream, how to follow your passion. Everybody says, follow your heart. And I believe in that. That's great. It's good stuff. And, you know, what to do to succeed. When you fall, get back up, and how to keep going. And with God, you can do it. That's where a lot of stuff is. That's where this popular evangelist was. But in my understanding, in my view, that's missing the deepest truth of what Jesus Christ and all the great saints and sages taught. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. So, in order to really get there, we've got to understand the difference between pleasure, happiness, and bliss. Pleasure, we experience through the senses, right? Something comes in, it feels good. You experience through the senses. A lot of people mistake happiness for pleasure. You eat a good meal, you feel good, right? Pleasure's wonderful. How many of you have some way that you experience pleasure in your life? Yeah, I love a nice hot fudge sundae every now and then. Nice chocolate chip cookie with nuts, you know. Freshly baked, coming out of the oven. And I say, if you're going to enjoy pleasure, really enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. Make a choice. I'm going to eat this cookie and I'm going to enjoy it. Right? Pleasure. It's good. It's good for us. It's passive. Pretty passive. You bring it in, it touches your senses, it stimulates your mind, and then it's gone. Haven't you heard good cook complain about, I spent all this time in the kitchen cooking, and you just eat it in 10 minutes. And it's all done. You ever hear people complain about that? All that time cooking, and then in 15 minutes, it's done, it's over. That's pleasure. That's pleasure. Bring it in, it's gone. And we human beings know that. We know that pleasure is not lasting. And some people seek pleasure. They think that's what life's all about, just pleasure. Go after pleasure. Problem with pleasure is that it's never enough. It doesn't satisfy. And it, according to yogis, depletes your energy. You know, I've known of people who have gone into industries where it was all about pleasure. And you see these people years later, and I'm like, God, look how old that person is. They look depleted. What happened to them? They went into a field of work or whatever that really depleted their energy. And someone who seeks pleasure will deplete their energy, ultimately leads to misery, because pleasure is of the material. It can't satisfy the deepest yearning of who we are, because we're created out of bliss. The great yogi Swami Shankaracharya, hundreds of years ago, said that God is eternal conscious bliss. Eternal conscious bliss. The Sanskrit is Satchidananda. Conscious eternal bliss. That's what God is. And everything has come out of God. You know, that's the difference between creation and becoming. God didn't create the world like a carpenter creates a table. Infinite bliss became the world. That's what the sages tell us. That means that everything is created in bliss. Bliss is in the essence of everything. It's in the essence of you and me. Everything comes out of bliss. That's our true nature. So pleasure ain't going to do it, because we want to know our true nature is bliss. What about excitement? Excitement. People mistake excitement for happiness. Why? Because excitement energizes us. It makes us feel energetic. But again, the problem with excitement is eventually it overstimulates. We get overstimulated and then we feel depleted. J. Donald Walters, who wrote a book, God is for Everyone, he was a direct disciple of Yogananda's. He said that, used an analogy of a little kid going to the circus, that excitement has to do with anticipation, what you're looking forward to. Little kid going to the circus has images, alligators, and, he's going to see alligators, he's going to see giraffes, he's going to see tigers, and he's excited. His eyes are wide open, ready to see some good stuff. And he's dragging his parents by the hand, going through the zoo. What's he feeling 2 hours later? Depleted, exhausted. Why? Because overstimulation. Overstimulation. Pleasure, excitement. You can experience music, which can be exhilarating, right? It can be uplifting, exhilarating even. But what happens if you listen to the same song over and over? You get tired of it. Same with food. I remember years ago when I first moved to New York in 2000 or 1999, I was eating mangoes. And I was eating mangoes all the time. Mangoes, mangoes, mangoes. I've eaten about one mango since. 25 years later. It was like overindulgence in mangoes. That's with pleasure and excitement. Excitement it's counterfeit happiness. It gives you a bit of a jolt of energy, but it's not deeper like happiness. Happiness is calm. Happiness is an inner thing. Happiness doesn't deplete you, it nourishes you. Someone who's living on excitement doesn't have that nurturing calmness to be able to deal with life's challenges with a sense of calmness and centeredness. Excitement is not the same as happiness. Nothing wrong with excitement, but it's not the same thing. It's part of the pleasure. It's part of the stimulation of the senses that can deplete us. So, enjoy the excitement, but always relating it back to the inner joy that we're looking for. Pleasure's passing, moves through. If you're going to enjoy something, really enjoy it. And happiness requires will. You can be happy no matter what's going on when you decide to be. Abraham Lincoln, it's a real popular movie show out right now about his wife, Mary, right? One of his wives. Abraham Lincoln said, people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Someone else said, if someone wants to be happy, no one can make them unhappy. And if somebody wants to be unhappy, no one can make them happy. Isn't it true? You ever try to make someone happy and they're unhappy? No. Doesn't work. It is a matter of will. So happiness, one of the things that helped me was something Tony Robbins taught, talking about achievement and all that. But this is a great tip. 4 questions to ask yourself to help you to be happy. What am I most happy about, or what could I be most happy about right now? What could you be happy about right now in your life? Anybody? What could you be happy about?
Being alive.
Being alive. Yes, we're all alive, right? Beats the heck out of not being alive. Yes.
Good health.
Good health. The greatest wealth, good health. Right? You have all that you need. Awesome. Awesome. What are you most proud of? Or what could you be most proud of? See, that second question, now you can really search and go, well, what could I be proud of? What are you most proud of in your life right now? Anybody? That's a little more personal, huh? Yeah, anybody else hadn't shared? No? How about a son or a daughter? A grandkid? Did I hear something over here? Your family. Good. What are you most grateful for? Or what could you be most grateful for?
My closeness to God.
Your closeness to God. Yes. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. Can't be replaced. Who do you love? And who loves you? Who do you love and who loves you? Those are great questions to stir up a sense of happiness within ourselves, right? How many of you feel a little happier when you answer those questions for yourself? How many of y'all feel a little happier answering those questions? I remember asking those questions when I was going through a very difficult time. And it involved work, and it involved some real difficult stuff. And when I would go to work, I would ask myself those questions. And it really helped. It really helped. You can be happy no matter what's going on around you. With will. Pleasure, temporary, comes in. Excitement's fun, energizes us, but it can overstimulate us, lead to depletion, even discouragement. In fact, J. Donald Walters says this: excitement stimulates the will, so also does happiness. How then do the two differ? In both cases, it is the will that generates energy. The exhilaration of excitement, however, takes the mind up like a hooked fish to the surface. The energy that happiness generates, on the other hand, takes one deeper into himself. Excitement overstimulates the nerves, but happiness calms them. Happiness, moreover, doesn't diminish with long exposure, whereas excitement ends eventually in fatigue. It brings boredom and disappointment in the end. To avoid such disappointment in life, try always to remain calm in yourself. In fact, I had a meeting with J. Donald Walters once, and I told him I was excited about going skiing in Lake Tahoe. He said, don't get excited, get calm. I thought, oh, okay, get calm. So, happiness is a will thing. You can do it under any circumstances. How about bliss? Bliss is our divine nature. Bliss is our spiritual essence. It has nothing to do with what we're willing to happen. We've got to use the will to tune into it. But it's our true essence. It flows from the divine in us. Happiness isn't enough to deal with big challenges that come our way. You know, it's not enough. Also, we have stuff that we've repressed inside of us. Because we've learned from early on, you know, big boys don't cry. And we become, you know, if I cry, I'll cry forever. We've learned to stuff things instead of feeling them. And so we built up this reservoir of stuff that we haven't dealt with. And they're what Michael Singer and Buddhists call samskaras. The guy's driving along. He sees a car that reminds him of his ex-girlfriend who cheated on him. And all of a sudden, he feels pain. Why? Because he never really dealt with it before. And a lot of people, instead of feeling it, they go, oh my God, I got to get another girlfriend. I feel lonely. I need somebody in my life. Oh, I feel insecure. I need more money. Well, the samskara comes up. Instead of dealing with it, we think we need something out there to fix it. And so happiness of practicing gratitude, exercising, doing different things to boost your level of happiness is all very good and very helpful, but it's not bliss. And it doesn't solve the deep stuff that needs to be healed. And as we heal that stuff, as we unblock ourselves, then we start to tune into bliss. As we take time to meditate and to be still on a regular basis, as we tune into spirit, now we tune into Satchidananda, conscious eternal bliss. And that's what we really long for. Now, what surprises me, as he was writing about, is how many people are afraid of bliss. People are afraid of bliss. I find that hard to believe, but people are afraid of bliss. They're afraid of that kind of joy. Afraid of that it might take too much energy to experience bliss. That it might take too much to get that bliss. And other reasons. This is amazing. But bliss is what we really, really want. Let me give you an example of bliss. There was a man, this comes out of India, there was a man named Haridas. He was a great devotee of God. And he was born Muslim. But he met someone that inspired him to become a devotee of Krishna, which is the God in the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, right? He's like Jesus Christ in the Western religion, in Christianity. Krishna. He became a devotee of Krishna. Well, when the local king heard that he had left Islam, he sentenced this guy to death through flogging. And Haridas was tied up by his wrists to a tree. And the executioners had these little sticks, to flog him to death. And Haridas prays to Krishna, "Oh, beloved Krishna, help these people feel your love." The people, the crowds came surrounding to watch this execution. And they were filled with such joy from the radiance of Haridas's love and bliss that they were dancing in ecstasy. And at one point, the guards got filled with this ecstasy and they dropped their tools, their instruments, and they started to dance in ecstasy. That's bliss. That's bliss that has nothing to do with what's going on in the outer. The quality of our true essence, our true nature. I'll tell you another story. It comes from the West. Benvenuto Cellini, the artist from the Renaissance, in his autobiography, he tells a story of how he was commissioned to do stuff for the Pope. And he just finished a project for the Pope. And the Pope wanted him to start another project. And he said, "No, I won't do that project until you pay me for the last one." And the Pope, with the power, threw him into a dungeon. And in the dungeon, he had a damp mattress. It was cold. Rats ran about. And he only had daylight for 1 hour of the day. So during that hour, he had a Bible. He would read the Bible. And the rest of the day, he would pray. He wrote in his autobiography, "I know what true happiness is. If you want to know what true happiness is, then get locked in a dungeon with a wet mattress And he described the conditions. And pray to God all day. That's what bliss is all about. It's tuning in to our true nature. Now, I practice a form of meditation that Paramahansa Yogananda taught that helps me feel bliss in meditation. I can get still and quiet and feel bliss. And you know what? That bliss feeds me during the rest of the day. I aspire to be able to know that bliss every single moment of the day, to walk in that bliss, to live in that bliss. Because we're not going to die and go to that bliss. Nobody's going to, believe in something, die, and go to heaven, and now all of a sudden they're in bliss. That's not how it works. We go with us after we die. We leave the body, we go, maybe we have a time of rest and so on, but then we got to get back to work, get back to growing. So the difference between pleasure is temporary. We live in bodies. We live in a material world. It looks material. The scientists tell us it's all energy. Underneath the energy is consciousness. This is really a thought world. God is thinking it. It looks solid, but it's really God's thought, which becomes energy, which becomes the material realm. The material realm is not designed to satisfy us. It's not designed to make us completely happy. It's designed to be interesting. It's designed to entertain us. Excitement won't do it. Gives us a little energy, but it doesn't satisfy the deeper desire. Happiness is closer. Using our will to be happy, making a decision, something wonderful is going to happen today. Something amazingly awesome is going to happen today. That's great. Gets our mind in the right space. We start to look for good. We start to see good in our life. It makes us feel better. It feels good. That's important. Happiness is part of tuning into the inner bliss. When you're happy, you start to tune into your inner bliss. You don't do that through pleasure. But when happiness is a deeper thing, and by being happy, we start to tune into that higher dimension of our being. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to challenge you today to make your goal bliss. To make your goal bliss, because bliss is God. Bliss is God. Bliss is our true nature. And notice in your life and notice in other people the difference between pleasure, how it feels, what impact it has on you, and notice how happiness has an impact on you. Notice when you get excited and what impact that has on you. Notice how excitement impacts others. Develop that awareness and take time to tune into your inner calmness. Develop that inner calmness, that inner happiness, so that no matter what goes on, we can bring that happiness that nourishes us all the time and gives us strength and helps us deal with situations, and to ultimately develop what Yogananda called portable paradise. To bring your portable paradise wherever you are. Haridas, Benvenuto Cellini, those guys aren't different from you and me. They just loved God. They just tuned in. And we can all tune in. So yes, something wonderful is going to happen to me today, amazingly awesome. I'm going to tune into God. I'm going to tune into bliss. I'm going to experience the divine right where I am. Let's get still. Father, Mother God, thank you for guiding us. Thank you for inspiring us to know your presence. Thank you for awakening within us the yearning to know I and the Father are one. To really know that beyond words. To feel your presence in each and every moment. We long to know what it's like to be a child of God, truly in the fullest sense. Thank you for your joy, your happiness, and your peace. And so it is,